And the signal has gone live. We'll give it a bit to propagate around the world. The gaming dads all over.
All over everywhere.
No, it's exciting. You look at the download stats, and there's a number of gaming dads in Australia. We hit some of the Nordic countries like Norway and Sweden, England listening in. A couple South Americans, largely American, United States and Canada. But
Worldwide. International, baby.
hey,
Look at
man,
this.
gaming dad struggle is a worldwide recognized feat. So, hey, gaming dads around the world, how you doing?
That's right.
Let's kick it off, and we are live. The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. Almost 9-year-old. So
Whoa,
close.
oof, that's old.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like 10 more years till college, buddy.
Let's just get through preteens first. And then
God willing. I'll admit I'm fairly tired for this recording. I had an incident last night where I imagine it's like every married couple at one point or the other struggling over the sheets and everything else like that, and it's just like traumatic. So my wife at some point woke up and just ripped the blankets off me,
oh, no.
like ripped the blankets off. So it's freezing. Like it was really traumatic.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, but don't worry, I'll recover.
Oh, jeez. Really? This is where we're at? This is the quality of the show, folks. If you didn't like that now, just turn it off. That's it. It just continues.
We got to spring for the live drummer for that initial dad pun.
It's funny because I thought you were speaking truths because I cocoon up in that bed. They're all mine.
So that's what makes it good because it's so unexpected. Because I'm coming from a place of real struggle for dads, and you're losing the cover wars. But don't worry, I recovered. So,
Jeez.
oh man, that actually accidentally really speaking of recovery, it actually ties into a health story I have to tell in a little bit. Accidental segue. But first,
You can
sort of a
tell
health
it.
story, but more of a happy one. And this is where a friend of the show, Benevolent Knight, tagged us in an amazing photo. So huge congratulations from here us on the show. So Benevolent Knight, friend of the show at Benevolent Knight 2 on March 5th, tweets out this photo of his newborn sleeping in a crib yonder. His wife getting a bit of shut eye in front of it. This does look like to be at the hospital. And in front of them all, as the two of them recover and get some sleep, he's got a Nintendo Switch, getting in a bit of that quiet gaming time during recovery. It's the dream. It's beautiful.
It's the dream and it will continue for quite a while. And we're still living that dream. Some days it's less dreamy than another. But congrats again. That is a brand new baby. That is
Yeah,
hospital newborn. So
yeah. I'm a bit envious because I'll say that having an actual Switch during especially the first kid when it came around. He came around 6 years ago. That would have been just before the Switch action, especially the Switch Lite that he's holding.
yep.
Like that is a perfect early morning, rough night, couple hours while you're trying to like rock with the baby and keep them asleep type of console.
It really is. And because I remember when back in my day,
Back in
my 11-year-old was born, the hospital would jam cell signals, right? So any games I had on my phone had an online functionality where you don't really know about that until you get to that, bridge and you're like, oh, can't play the game. So having a Switch that doesn't need any of that junk, that's where Nintendo shines, is that stuff. I love it.
Absolutely. Hey, congratulations, Benevolent Knights. So happy for you. Hope the kid and the wife is doing great and you're able to use that Switch to great aplomb during these precious first days. Now, so as I alluded to, I want to discuss it's been an interesting ride. So I've been going through some health issues, kind of out of the blue. Because I mean, what's sort of surprising with it too is that I go to the gym regularly, not not particularly overweight. Tend to try to take care of myself. Like my health is actually something that I kind of monitor and do my best on. And had an incident with my heart. So It got broken, Jeff.
Jeez. I'm glad you can kind of have some fun with it because it's just
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, pardon. Well, that's what it's sort of serious. So the just one day I had noticed some chest pains, and then at some point it actually started to shoot down my arm. So immediately it was just like, all right, this we should take a look at. And I will mention too, and this is sort of why I did want to share this story with fellow gaming dads, is that I do have to fight some degree of masculinity around like, oh, just shrug it off. Like I don't want to bother anybody. I'll just tough it out. I don't need to see it.
Right.
And that's not good. Like that's, if something really seems to be amiss, you can't really be playing around with your health, especially as a dad.
Right.
And we're getting up in age. Like I'm close to 40. Jeff, I think you're 50 or so.
I, okay, come on. It's a big year for me, and you're already doing the old jokes.
Sorry, but we're getting up into our 40s, so health like really needs to kind of turn.
That's right.
So this happens, and it was just immediately, okay, I got to go get this checked. So I go to a walk-in clinic, and the first problem is they saw me immediately,
Oh no.
which
Like
in-
you got like scooted ahead of all the other snotty
I went-
kids.
got right into a
Everything.
room.
Oh, no.
Nurse saw me right away, which is especially in Canadian healthcare system.
Right.
If you get seen immediately, it's not a good thing.
No, it's
Like,
not. No.
You think you're saving time. You're like, oh no, that means I'm actually kind of a bad case. So get in, and they were just wonderful. I can't thank everybody here in the Canadian medical system for all their assistance, but they rushed me right in, get me hooked up to a monitor, give me the once over, run some quick tests, and fortunately at that time they're like, okay, everything seems to be fine. Are you experiencing any terrible pains? Like, no, like it kind of resided, but it's like, this is great, but we can't really see anything on the test. You have to go to a hospital. Okay,
Oh,
we're
wow.
gonna, yeah, it's like you need to go now. Like we need to take care of this. We have to be sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Do go to the hospital and again get seen fairly quickly, which is a real big red
no,
flag. Like,
jeez.
oh no.
You're living the dream. Come on. This has got to be
Yeah.
worth something. Like all those times you're waiting with your kids
Yeah.
5 hours later, but you get scooted in for good reason. But
Well, I'll tell you, mostly what helped me kind of speed through it was the fact that I was making the Zelda one heart sound.
oh no.
Did it? Did it? Just, oh, get this guy healed, please.
Oh,
Like, we
gosh.
can't-
Oh, no.
we can't listen to this for too long. So more tests, so further X-rays, more ECG, just running the gamut on me. And again, they, it's like we see something could kind of seem amiss, but like you seem fine. There's no immediate danger. Like you're doing great. If anything comes up, you need to, come back to emergency. But generally, things are fine. Nothing to worry about. You are going to have to see a cardiologist.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, fine. That great doing all the tests. Have been generally feeling pretty well otherwise. And go to the first ECG test. So go to the cardiologist. It's an ECG test. Now, the general concern that they're going to have of a guy of my age generally will be, are you having like a heart murmur? Are you having a regular beat? Is your heart stress? Is something failing? And they want to
Right.
get on top of it. I think, given that I am a man with kids and relatively young, they want to kind of fast track
Yeah.
the health to make sure they kind of catch it.
Right.
So go to the cardiologist. Cardiologist, go in, have to lie down. They hook me up with 10 sensors, I think, to catch
Oh,
all the
wow.
beats, kind of listen to how that works. And
wired
then here's the interesting part. It's like I get to go through the pregnant lady experience. Because he brings out the wand. And if you remember, any dads out there remember when the first time you're going to see the heartbeat of your kid, they brought out the wand and they put a massive dollop of goop on the end of it and then proceeded to just like route around until they found that baby's heartbeat.
It's like kids with toothpaste to just squirt that sucker out and it's just everywhere. And you're like, oh, this is not going to be easy to clean.
So the technician there does that, and he is just routing around, and there it is, like my heart in all its glory up on the screen. It's like, oh, it's a boy. This is great.
Look at him go.
And this guy, I'll say this too, watching the machinery is very complicated. Like 50 buttons, things on screen. It's kind of hard to understand anything that you're seeing, and he's just routing around. But the dexterity on his hands. It's like, okay, this is a good shot. It's like, are you a StarCraft player? What
Do you play MMOs? Like, do you know like all the UI systems and you're just all these
Like, what is your
buttons.
click rate on this, bud? Like, this is
Wow.
ridiculous. The amount of stuff he's getting through, and he is just cranking it. Like, it was so impressive. So
Wait, did he have a gaming mouse? Because I have a good recommendation. I could
yeah, I
use.
bet. So would you join my MMO clan? Could really use some support for a tank.
That's right.
So he's riding around, checking it out. And they obviously don't tell you anything at that time. They send me on
Yeah.
my way. I do get a call later, and they do want to have another test. So the way this was going to go. So had chest pains, had pain shooting down my arm. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is serious time to get it looked at. Went to a walk-in clinic. They said no, you need to go to a hospital. Like you got to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the hospital. They run some tests, X-rays, and something with sensors. Do blood work. Came back fine. You just need to see a cardiologist. First cardiologist appointment. And like, okay, first we're gonna do the ECG and a like full scan.
Mm-hmm.
Then secondly, we're gonna do a stress test.
Oh,
So
lovely.
we're gonna hook you up to
Report everyday life.
get to see how fit I am. So they're gonna hook you up to the same sensors, but then make you run on a treadmill to try to see like under stress, under duress, how's your heart perform. That's coming up, and then finally like a consultation with the doctor about a month away. So,
Okay.
you know, walk-in clinic, hospital, first cardiologist visit, second cardiologist visit, stress test coming up, and then also coming up a test. In between, they've now called me and said he took a first look at your test. There's some concerns, so we want you to do a 3-day monitoring with a portable heart monitor.
Oh, okay.
So over the course,
Wow.
what they want to see is that over the course of 3 days, like what's the heart look like? Because some things can be pretty hard to diagnose, and if they're only catching you for like 20 minutes of
Right.
your visit, right? So it's like, okay, what happens if we watch this guy over the course of 3 days?
Yep.
So I think it's called a Hector. It's a cell phone size thing. They'll give me like a pack for it, and then they're gonna have some 10 odd sensors. Then I don't bathe for 3 days. You're not allowed to bathe while you have this thing on.
Wow. Living the life.
And the very nice nurse who was trying to book it's like, you might want to do this for. Listen, you're not gonna be able to bathe for 3 days. You might want to book this for the weekend, so that coworkers and everything don't have to deal with you. I'm like, oh, don't worry, I work from home. We're good. Just like, I work in a basement, so in my own
Oh,
house.
jeez.
You book that whenever you like. It's just my kids and wife that have to suffer for
Drive
3
through
days.
everything. Like not going to any shops, nothing.
Yeah, so something has come up where it is of concern, so they're going to have to give me this 3-day monitoring. That'll happen fairly soon, and then stress test, and then finally the meeting with the doctor. The feeling good at the moment. No episodes have come up. What is helpful to think about is the fact that like the test with the cardiologist who said we should test you more is still a month out.
Okay.
So despite the fact it's like, oh, you should come in for more tests and such, he's also like, but we're totally fine to wait a month to actually see each other. So
yeah, that's that's
'cause
helpful that it's not like he's just busy. He's like, yeah, just hold on by a thread.
I was more worried about like, you need to get in right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was all fine. So I'll keep folks posted. I'm generally fairly confident about it. Like it again, like I'm of decent health. This is certainly a scare and something we want to take care of, but we've kind of caught it at a good point. I largely hope it is nothing, but if anything, I wanted to give this might be something teen dads might have to go through themselves. So I kind of want to give the inside track of what I had to experience. And also
Yeah.
just give a call too. Again, like there will always be, I think, a tendency for men to ignore health problems.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, I'll just go to sleep. I'll sleep it off. I'll tough it out. I don't need to see anything. I don't see a doctor. If you can at all, I take care of your health. Especially as a dad, lots of little ones depending on you. So it's best to take care of yourself as best you can.
Yeah. And I will fully admit I've been one of those dads that just ignore it.
Yeah.
Right? You just ignore it and hopefully it goes away and it just gets worse. Or it comes back in other forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to listen to your body, go get it checked out. Especially here in Canada. Not dissing any other parts of the world that listen to our show.
Yeah.
Completely free. You can walk in and get cared of.
It is easier to prescribe that in a country with free healthcare. And
Yeah.
again, like Jeff said, no, this isn't a knock on any other systems, but as much as one is able, take care of your health. We are dads. We are getting older. So it's time to take care of our bodies, fellas.
That's right. One of us is turning 40 this year, so that's fun.
So old.
God.
Over the hill.
Yes.
We're gonna have a special episode.
Oh, back in my day, the games were black and white.
It was an Atari and I liked it.
Uh,
Online play.
yeah.
Internet.
that's
So speaking of not having internet, that actually makes for a great segue. Internet is a new way of gaming. Kids are well aware of how to game online and all the more persistent on how they might want to game online. And Jeff, you had a very interesting presentation, a literal presentation from your kid about an online service.
Yes. So my son, the 11-year-old, wants to game with his friends, obviously through Minecraft. And Google Chats or Hangouts or Meets or whatever it's called now, because Google likes to change their names and merge services all the time, is not cool anymore. And his friends don't use it. Or it's too associated with school, because virtual school, right? Like that, it was all Google Classroom stuff. So he said he wanted to go on Discord, which I have dabbled in a little bit, but don't know quite too much about it, but I understand what it is. And we told him, okay, go back and let us know how you're going to handle it. What are the benefits and like next steps? So we just thought he would just go to his room and like maybe write down some things on a piece of paper, maybe like, like a scrap piece of paper, sometimes like Kleenex or whatever he's got. Like, just here you go, mom and dad, and try to get that off. No, he went to his computer. He made a Google Slide presentation.
It's so good.
And he came down and we hooked it up to the TV and he went through the benefits, his responsibilities, what Discord is, how his friends are using it, what he plans on doing with it. So it was a very good presentation. There is a couple holes, but again, he's 11.
There's some logical flaws in there, but that's okay.
Like some of them on screen right now, you can rename yourself. It has lots of features. There's cool effects and icons, like speaks to his kind of language. I get it. There's one note about how a friend hasn't answered him on Google Chats since January 5th. So, he's throwing that in there and all his friends use it, right? So why can't I? So it was a well done presentation. We sent back some notes with him just saying,
A critical review.
This is great. This is great. You kind of explain what Discord is and why you want it, but like, how are you going to manage it, right? Like, how are people asked to be your friend and you don't know them? How is that going to work, right? Just simple things like that. And it's kind of funny because, well, not really funny, but my son is diagnosed with ADHD, so he gets distracted very easily. So we just sent like, here's your presentation, just some notes, just tweak it a little bit, and then we're good to go and you can have Discord. So like literally like just outline what you plan on doing if somebody asks you to be your friend. He goes upstairs. We don't hear from him. He's distracted using Google Meets again or Google Hangouts with his friends playing Minecraft. And we're like, dude, I thought you wanted Discord. Okay. So he still hasn't to this day come back with his responsibility, like that one line of just what he plans on doing. So we're just going to leave it at that. So maybe we'll get another presentation with like that revised slide in there at some point. I don't know. Maybe you'll get a message on Discord. I have no idea.
Yeah. He'll find you on Discord and send you like, hey, Dad, I'm here. Listen, here's all the reasons it's great.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, God, that is fantastic. I just love you have to, the gaming angle, you want to play with kids on this, what is ostensibly a gaming chat platform.
Yeah.
Awesome. The life lessons as far as you want this thing, we have concerns about this thing, convince us in a structured format. And I do, although you didn't say structured, he went above and beyond and used kind of his online language as far as like online learning is go with creating these presentations. And he put together I'm telling you, as a professional who works for money I have seen such worse presentations.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I work in government and I have seen horrible PowerPoint presentations.
There's no Comic Sans anywhere. There's
nothing.
There's no stretched images.
No. And it's like a good number of bullet points per slide. And he was speaking to them, so it wasn't like he was reading them off the screen. He was speaking to them, so it was again, good presentation skills. Like a lot of effort went into it. We just need that one clarification just to be sure, and he'll get Discord. But until then, like it knocked it out of the park for us. It was great.
Yeah, and we want to give a call out. So Pete Scarit, at Pete Scarit, says he saw this and came back with his own memory of it. I didn't do it via computer, but I made a similar kind of presentation when I wanted an NES for Christmas in 1990. I showed pictures, I had note cards, I thoroughly explained why it was the perfect Christmas gift. It was a success,
Perfect.
and he got it. Oh man, Pete, that is such a perfect moment. Thank you so much. Especially, I can't wait to see our kids' presentations or pitches for new consoles, especially since, let's be
Yeah,
honest, we want new consoles.
exactly. Right? Yeah, beef up your skills now so I can get some of that.
kid, you're doing like you're gonna give him like cheater notes. Like, kid, listen, I need you to succeed at this because I want this thing. But your mom will know if it's a grift. So like,
Yeah.
you've got to bring your A game.
Quick, bring your younger brother. He needs to see this so he can gain his skills in a couple of years.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck's coming out. We need to get this on.
Well, one way to get it, I think, Jeff, is if he would roll a 20 on persuasion.
Oh, that's a good transition. I like that.
That's what can I tell you? So that we are talking about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and much to my surprise, I'd read via our own Twitter that your 11-year-old is starting to get interested in dipping his toes into Dungeons and Dragons. Like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, so this was
Oh,
something that
sorry, we'll cut you off. The title card for those just listening is D&D and Dad,
yeah.
and I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. It's a perfect title. I love
Sorry,
it.
Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. Keep going.
And it goes along with Discord. There's a lot of D's happening. Yeah, no, he came to me inside Indigo. We were there just to look at books and get out of the house for a bit. And he was looking at Dungeons and Dragons. He's like, Dad, I really want to try this. I had mentioned to it like a couple years ago, I think, just like something that would carry over the RPG of a video game into a board game, and maybe he'd like to explore that. Anyway, I guess he remembered it because his memory is like he soaks up everything that you say ever. And he pointed to these two like kind of starter kits on Dungeons and Dragons, and he's a really creative kid, and he would tell tons of stories. The problem is like honing that, right? Because he would playing games with him. When he was a little bit younger, he would make up a lot of instructions and how many hit points and magical spells, and basically everybody was just amped up and maxed out. So no one would win because everybody was stronger and stronger, right? But this is kind of a cool idea where I'm not too familiar with it, so it would be like a learning opportunity for myself as well as him to kind of do. So we saw these two kits, and I put it out on Twitter. Like, I will say this: the naming of these kits, like one's a starter's kit or a starter set, and one's an essentials. So starter or essentials? It sounds like I kind of need both. Like, don't I? So I think I think the consensus was starter for a quest line, but you do need the essentials at some point.
So what I can think of, if you want to dip your toe in it, I know that there's a number of apps and websites that will do. So first, I will say, if you really want to go into it, I think getting the actual kits. I can't speak from experience. Just
Yeah.
I've been a fan from afar. Like, I've wanted badly to like play.
Yep.
So, and I've participated, like listened to a bunch of podcasts. Like, so I've some familiarity with the world. And what I would say, but I think you could, apropos of nothing, like be able to test the waters very simply. So firstly, websites and apps, they'll do all the dice rolling and tracking for you,
Right.
as far as health and things like that. And then what you could look for is something called a one shot.
Okay.
So because usually D&D, it's like often it's a campaign. So this is like something that's going to stretch over
Hours.
days or weeks or months. No, like you
Yeah,
can have a
yeah, yeah.
campaign that goes on forever.
Yeah.
Right. But a one shot is something meant for, okay, you and some friends are going to sit down and finish this. Like, this is like kind of an appetizer of it.
Okay.
So between a digital version of the dice and a one shot that you can probably find online, you could probably kind of get a gauge how he would act in the
Yeah.
actual game itself.
Yeah, again, we kind of want to dip our toes in, ease into it, mainly just to gauge his involvement in it, because he has grandiose ideas, which is great, like the presentation, like, but then we'll go off and not think about it anymore, right? So if it's something to that he can kind of take hold of, and it's, you know, off screen for a little bit and uses that creativity, and I can see the
Oh my lord.
glimpses
Okay,
a little
so
bit more, that'd be good.
so imagine that the mechanics of it were taken care of. So that lot, so you know, like you said, like you go up against your first boss and he has like 1,000,000 hit points and you're
Yeah.
gonna die. So assume though, like that's taken care of. Can you imagine the campaign that our kids would come up with?
Right?
So these velociraptors are able to fly because of their robot wings, who they got from this Dr. Nefarious who lives over here in this skull castle, and he's at war with the Barbie land over this side. It would just
Yep.
be the most bonkers stuff. But I'm telling, like, how fascinating would it be to, as a character, try to survive
Yeah.
the machinations of one of their imaginations for what a world would be? It would be it would be the most buck wild adventure ever.
It would be like a kind of like an Alice in Wonderland scenario where you're like going through this entire, like, there's a talking cat all of a sudden, and like everyone's singing and dancing, and oh my god, the playing cards are coming to life.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, no, and it kind of gives you a glimpse into like their thinking process too, right? Where it's just like, where are all these ideas coming from? But I'm here for it. Let's do it up.
yeah. So like I said, you would just need to put them on rails a little bit, so mechanically everything would work, because that's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, because even within the battles, if you ever listen to a podcast or a show where they're playing D&D, the creativity used by the dungeon master around, it's like, okay, well, I shoot at the boulder above his head. It's like, oh, but the boulder doesn't move. There's this whole narrative that the a dungeon master, especially a good one, is trying to weave.
Right. Yeah.
So now have you listened to any podcasts? I mean, there's, for instance, the critical darlings of the Adventure Zone and Critical Role.
I have seen maybe an episode of Critical Role, and then we have some followers that tweet out their D&D experiences, but I have not gone beyond that.
Okay, so what I'd like to suggest for all the gaming dads, if you have any passing interest in a long run podcast, I would suggest Dungeons and Daddies.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, wait.
yeah. Now the
We're a family
subline.
show here, Trevor.
Yeah, you can't listen to this with your kids.
Okay.
The subline of it is not a deep BDSM podcast.
Well, it's good to know.
They make very specific about it. But it is just stunning. Like, so these are actually some professional writers and actors from Hollywood, from more of YouTube fame than like really any large, grandiose Hollywood stature. But the show that they craft is the most ludicrous, silly, fantastic, like fun thing, and great character arcs and everything else. But the entire premise is that these four dads get into a Honda Odyssey on way to soccer practice with their kids and get sucked through a wormhole into a very classic Dungeons and Daddies or Dungeon and Dragons setting. So what would four dad archetypes put into bumbling dads with kids look like if they got thrust into wizardry and sorcery of Dungeons and Dragons? It is just fantastic. Like, if you want any gaming dad, I think, with any interest in it, would find this podcast just a riot. I adore it.
It sounds like, I don't know if you ever watched it with your kids, the movie The Mitchells versus the Machines, where they're all getting
Yes.
in the car. And
Yes.
they have all these crazy adventures, and yeah, okay, all right. I'm on board. See,
That's
we're already like selling this to myself on this show. This is great. I like it.
Yeah, so if you do a one shot, I would love for you to report back, because I'd love to know how the mechanics went, if your kid was able to get into it, what worked, what didn't work. Because, man, if we could do if you guys get good at it, invite me. I want to play a Dungeons and
Well,
Dragons
that's what I'm
game.
saying, because like I don't know how many players you can do it with, really, right? Like, because minimum it's, I want to say 3. You could probably do 2. Again, I don't know, but 2
Yeah,
is kind of boring.
Yeah, because then it's just a dungeon master and one person. So
Right.
if you need a second or third, you just let me know. We'll do this online.
Tag you in. All right. Like, got it going here. Maybe we'll just play it on here and this will be the episode. We're done. There you go.
It'll be our first live stream. We'll do a live stream of gaming dads
Yeah.
fumbling through like Dungeons and Dragons.
Good time.
Oh, absolutely. So, hey, on that great note, we will wrap it up there for the week. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you like the show and you want to get a hold of us, you can find us at our website, newdadgaming.com, or at our Twitter, at newdadgaming. As we've continued to say in this new year, the interactions with other gaming dads. Obviously, we had the awesome birth of a child and the
Yes.
gaming moment in the hospital from Benevolent Knight. We had the amazing story from Pete Scarritt on his own presentation. So that type of stuff, like, we love to hear about and work into the show. If you have anything like that, anything else you want to promote as a gaming dad, reach out to us, newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. Another way to support the show that really helps us out and we really appreciate it is to subscribe. So you can find us on all the podcasting networks, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all of the podcasting networks. A subscription really helps us out. It boosts our signal, and especially a rating and a review. It really increases the signal and gets us out to as many gaming dads as possible. In D&D terms, that's like rolling a 20 on persuasion. Gets it out there, makes it charming. So we'd really appreciate it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. My name is Trevor. I have a heart on the mend, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I'm the Dungeon
There it is. Dungeon Master Jeff.
the Dungeon Master Jeff with an 11-year-old and an 8, almost 9-year-old.
There
And
it
just
is.
because you became a dad.
Doesn't mean it's game over.
See you next
Crit. He rolled a 1.
week. He rolled a 1. Defeated.
Defeat.